Yo guys, hope everyone's well. Hope we're good, and back with another one. This time looking at setting up Chakra UI and Storybook. So last time we did the project setup. We created our project on Vercel. We initialized our Next.js project and we deployed that. Pretty much all in a few simple actions, which was really easy and really great. Next.js, well, Vercel actually makes it really easy to set up projects. I also mentioned that I also bought my domain with them and I got SSL for free. Yeah, and HTTPS. Yeah, so really cool stuff, and yeah, it was really cool just to see how quick we can get that all set up. And so we had all that set up. We installed our main dependencies. We installed Chakra UI. We installed Storybook. We tested that. Those are working okay. Well, we haven't tested Chakra UI as of yet. Storybook, though, we had a look at the development environment. We've obviously installed Prettier, ESLint, and the ESLint config that I usually like, and we can look at that again, have a quick review of that. We obviously ran into an issue towards the end, which was great. And I actually managed to figure out what the issue was. So we can go back. So essentially what was happening was, yeah, we were getting this bad issue. I think, no, we're all right there. Yeah, so we were getting this issue that was essentially telling us that we had like an invalid hook call, and there was a bunch of other kind of warnings that we were getting up, you know, to do with casing, and I didn't really make the connection. And after looking at a few GitHub issues, because I've actually encountered this problem before on a past project, on a Next.js project, and well, I couldn't remember because I didn't document my fix, which is, again, like I said, kind of one of the previous episodes. This is part of the reason I'm doing this, is also to have, you know, a live documentation of the things I work through and how I solve them. And so this is, you know, this is yeah, well, I mean, this will be on record now. I can kind of come back to this, but essentially what the issue was simply to do with our casing of our path here. And so if you look at this terminal, I'm going to switch to my other terminal. It's got a lowercase d. This essentially makes all the difference, funnily enough. I might even just test that quickly. I actually spun up the server just before this, so I'm going to just kill that, and we're going to jump over to the other thingy. And I mean, it might work on this, I don't know, but my guess is if the issue pertains, then we will get an error, but I don't know. Yeah, so here we see internal server error, and if we go back to our terminal, now we get all this long list of things that are happening here. So if we look at the error here, it says error invalid hook call. Hooks can only be called inside the body of a function component, blah blah blah. And if we keep going a bit further up, you know, you see more invalid hook call errors. If we go a bit further up from that, so we see a warning here which says there are multiple modules with names that are only different casing. So we get another one, and it's mostly just kind of a bunch of these kind of errors that we were getting. It's a very long list if you look. Yeah, and I don't know whether it clicked and I remembered or if I read something, but either way, I came to realize that, oh damn, it's actually it's the casing here of our path. And what is very cheeky of the terminal here is that for some reason it makes it makes this D lowercase, kind of naturally by default, or perhaps it's because that's what it was like when I first opened it. But what I did here, so I'll actually, let me just spin up a new kind of thing. So if you encounter this yourself, you know, you've got to this point where you're like, oh god, you know, it's I need to change the casing to be the correct casing. Here's what you can do. So you just hit CD, of course. This takes you back to root. So if you ls, you can see, you know, all of the different places that you can go on the system. It doesn't show you, however, your like drives. So of course you just have to jump into your like File Explorer or Finder if it's on Mac. I'm not sure if this is like, I don't know if this is an OS specific problem, by the way. I don't know if you encounter this kind of problem on Mac, but we definitely do on Windows. So so what I can do CD, and now here's the important bit. Instead of that lowercase d it was showing us before, we just do a capital D like that. And okay, so now we can ls and we can see, okay, this is the kind of stuff we've got in here. So I can CD to web dev, and so you can see as well, before the web dev I had, if I open up a new one here, it's not got that capital D. It has to match, essentially. It has to match whatever these names are. We have to make sure that the path is matching. Otherwise, it will not work. So we can do CD personal projects now, and we can just work through it like this now. Thank you for letting me know that, because I made a typo. And I believe it's CD portfolio v2. I just know this because I've been in here a few times. Okay, and now we can yarn dev, and we've got that started up there. Let's follow that, and we have our app. So that is essentially the kind of fix. Just to preview that, we'll show you guys that. So that's how we can kind of get past that bit. So yeah, it was good to find that out sooner rather than later. Especially considering I've encountered it before, so I felt a bit silly, you know, not having sort of documented that somehow, or at least referring to where I found the answer to it. But now we have it here, so I can refer to this episode. But I will still document it as well, because it'll be a bit quicker than searching through video clips. So let's see what we want to do next. So, okay, we're going to go over to our Notion file. So this is the things to cover for this session. So I'll kind of split them up into the different concerns. So obviously the first one being setting up Chakra UI and setting up the Chakra theme specifically. So what we want to do is create our design tokens, which will be taken from our style guide, which is in our Figma design file. And we also want to set up fonts to work across browsers and devices. So this will enable all users to see our lovely font, which is Sora, which is a lovely font. And we also would like to set up Storybook, and that entails customizing the config for use of Chakra UI. So essentially, out of the box, it doesn't work with Chakra UI, and this is to do with like the theme provider essentially. So we just have to make sure that we wrap. There's something that we can do with what's called decorators in Storybook, where we can wrap. Basically, it's like you wrap the entire UI that will be presented to you in the developer environment, which we will come on to looking at. You can wrap it in certain things, and it's quite extensive. So you can add margins to it. You can add sort of frames around it if you want. Of course, we're going to add the Chakra theme around it so that it enables us to use Chakra, colors. So it's kind of specific its own design tokens that it references. We can use those and still refer to those and get it to work, just so that we're not having to reinvent the wheel, like typing in the same hex code every time. So we'll be looking at doing that, and then provided we have time, we'll be looking at writing our first story. And again, these last two, these are kind of more providing we have time, kind of nice to have in this stream. We can always look at these later. I think this one we actually might look at sooner rather than later, because I'd like to just kick this off by making a commit just to firstly keep with kind of committing incrementally, but also just to show you how I usually kind of commit stuff early on, and then we can kind of, whenever I work through it, you've already got an idea of how things are working. If anybody's watching this and you want to contribute at a later point, you have an idea of the kind of style that we have. And again, I've mentioned this before, and I need to get onto this, just creating like a short contributing guide, just for the sake of clarity, really. So anyways, lastly, if we can get onto it, we may potentially document our style guide with zero height. I actually found out about this yesterday through a Figma live stream. It wasn't actually a live stream from yesterday. It was from a while ago. It's about building design systems, and their guy, I believe Joey, he kind of walks through essentially building a design system from the ground up. And I know we're not creating a design system here, but there's some really, really useful methodologies and concepts and approaches that we can definitely bake into this workflow. And we'll be looking at some design stuff like later on, maybe in the next stream or so, when we come to building out our UI. We can sort of look at how, you know, we can essentially implement these design features to code. And of course we're doing that through Storybook. We're using that, doing that through Chakra UI as well. So we will look a bit more in depth about how we can tie the design into the whole process. And for those people that are interested, I can kind of go more in depth, maybe separately as well. But I want to try and keep this sort of focus to code as much as I can. But I just kind of feel that, you know, with design, like, even if you can get sort of basic understanding of certain concepts, you know, it can just greatly help, especially on personal projects where, you know, you might otherwise, you know, not really sort of want to do anything, you know, design wise, just because, you know, you don't know the tools well. But I think once you can get that basic understanding of how to use these tools, such as Figma, it can really sort of help you to create this proof of concepts to kind of get those, even if they're very basic designs done. You know, you at least have this sort of envisioned app, and for me anyway, it kind of gives me a lot more inspiration and determination to build it, because, you know, I've done the design for it and now I can feel it coming to life, you know. So we'll be working with that anyway. So let's without further ado get into the code. And like I said, we're just going to make a commit essentially. So what I like to do, so as you'll see here, I've just created this theme folder under styles. I'll come on to that in a minute. But we can just git status this and just see. So, okay, we've got all this stuff set up. I also want to just quickly, I don't really know, you know, I don't know much about sort of whether or not to include like pretty or ignore files, because I have seen them, but I don't really, I don't know. Excuse me, well, bear with me a moment. I'm just gonna, I like to often refer to other repos and stuff, either other repos by myself or by other people that I've maybe taken some inspiration of, just to kind of look at setups and stuff to, it saves time, you know, and if it's proven, you know, why not use that, you know. So cool. Maybe we don't. Oh, actually. Okay. We'll just leave it like this for now anyway. I think we're good. So we have all these changes to do. So what we can do now, let's have a quick look at conventional commits before we do this. Actually, I think we did in the last video, but it's just worth running through again. So conventional commits is a specification for adding human and machine readable meaning to commit messages. For me, I just find it personally just easier to kind of structure what's happening at any point. So the way I'm aiming to work with this is essentially to have, and I think it kind of makes sense at this point to kind of map out how my branch is working. So my aim is to have, of course, like the master or main branch, which will always be the live production code essentially. And So that's what we're going to see in production. And we have a branch sitting below that, which is the development branch, or develop. Some people call it either or. And essentially this branch is kind of the branch where, we kind of merge other features into it. So we can maybe do some testing, quality assurance, that kind of thing. Any optimization that may be needed as well, or further optimization, I should say, could happen on this branch. But this is kind of, this is where we're just checking that all of the features we're creating, everything, that we've done, it won't break production, and to make sure that, we're maybe adhering to some best code practices if we have those. But I think this is more for group project stuff. But that's kind of the idea for the develop branch. And sitting below that, of course, there's many branches as you as you might have at one time, which would obviously be the different features or fixes, refactors, all of these sort of different things you might be working on at one time, either on your own or as a team. And essentially, sort of once those features are ready to go, we bring them, you make a pull request to develop, and if all's good, merge it in, and Bob's your uncle, I suppose. So we're gonna essentially push. We're gonna make a push to master, to the main branch. We're gonna make a push there, and that's just gonna essentially be saying that we've set up our main dependencies, and then essentially we can then create our develop branch. Then we can start thinking about like features and stuff like that. But I think for the develop branch, I think setting up the theme and stuff like that is fine for that. But once we come on to actually building things out, then we can start splitting these off into some different branches, which I think would just be a useful way to keep things organized and structured, essentially. So sorry, I keep right-clicking, by the way. I'm knackered. I've had a long day at work, so whenever I'm really tired, I always do silly things like this. I accidentally just right-click, so you're going to keep... Actually, no, you can't even see it there, but if I end up doing that a lot, I apologize, and I'll try not to. Right, let's have a... Ooh, apologies. Keep hitting the mic. So, let's... see what we can do here. Yeah, so let's have a look at conventional commits. So if you would like to get started with it, there's some really helpful short videos on YouTube that can help you get started. Essentially, it's an extension that you can install. So I've got my extensions all down here. Wow, a fair few of them. So yeah, it's just this conventional commits one by Vivaxy. Hope I'm saying that name right, Vivaxy. And of course, if you want to read some more info and such, you can kind of go down here. But it's quite straightforward. So once you've kind of got that installed, I believe that's all you need to do. And for anybody that doesn't know actually about the Git integration in VS Code, so down the side here, we have this really helpful, more of like a GUI approach, I suppose. I've kind of always used the command line approach. That's what it does. It pastes in. So when you right click, it pastes, and I didn't mean to do that, and I've done that. So I apologize. I don't know why it's doing this. That's annoying. I keep right clicking. Okay, doesn't matter. So all of these, these are all the files, obviously, that we've essentially, there have been changes made to, which is a lot, essentially, right? So we can have a look back. We can just make sure as well if you want, but I mean, yeah, you can just make sure if you wish that, the stuff that you don't want in there won't be in there, blah, 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 etc., etc. But, we're all good with this, I believe. So, yeah, what we'll do now is we will add all of these changes, and so we can do that by just hitting this plus. So, and it will come up with this stage all changes, so we can add them to the staging area. So there's a lot of files. So it's gonna. So now we can see it's changed now to stage changes, and changes now we have none. So we've all brought them to stage changes. We can undo this. Very helpful. Unstage all changes. So it's just very quick like that. But we're all good with all of this. So there's me accidentally right clicking again. So we're all good with this. And now what we can do now that they're staged, right? They're ready for us to commit. They're ready for us to do that. So what we can do is once you've got conventional commits installed, you can hit Control Shift P. I'm not sure what it is on Mac. It might be something similar. Maybe Command Shift P. Try that. But whatever whatever command it is to open up this menu here, where you can access settings and stuff. Emmet abbreviations, configuration files, all of that stuff. You should have conventional commits somewhere down there. If not, you can just search for it like this. What happens is when you click on it, we get this kind of dialog box essentially, and you can see here you've got 6 steps. So we're on step 1 out of 6, right? And you've got some helpful placeholder text, sort of telling you the context of what this is right now. So it's saying select the type of change that you're committing. So the reason I like this is because it's just very explicit. It's like, it forces you to think about what it is you're doing, and you aren't just writing kind of any old commit message that might lack context. This forces you to give context and think about, okay, what am I actually doing here? So what's helpful is that they've obviously got the name of the thing, the feature, the fix, whether it's docs, star, refactoring, but they have a little description as well. So obviously, this is a new feature. Okay, so it's feat. This is a bug fix. Okay, fix. So we need to look at what we're doing here, right? So a new feature, not exactly. We haven't written any code or anything. We haven't got anything in the source folder. So I would personally put this in a chore, because for me, installing dependencies and stuff, I would view this as a chore. So once that's done, now it's going to ask you for the scope. For me, I'm not really using any workspaces. I'm not sure entirely. I might have to look more into this, but from my understanding, we don't need to add a scope here. And so now this is the bit I like. It's probably my favorite one is adding a Gitmoji, because it's just nice when you just see it show up in your repo and you're like, hey, that's my emoji. So let's think. So again, kind of, you can think about, okay, what's it we're doing here? And you've got a lot of Gitmojis. So I can just literally, so we're dealing with dependencies. I might just say dependencies. Okay, so we're adding dependencies. Yeah, okay, that's true. So we'll just have that. Okay. And so now we can write, so this is step 4. We can write a short imperative tense description of the change. Imperative tense, it's saying, so instead of like I added, it's going to be add. So instead of like added main dependencies, we can say add main dependencies. To be honest, I usually like to keep in the habit of just doing lowercase. It's not a big deal, but so we can say add main dependencies. Okay, and we don't need a longer description of the change, so we can just press enter and it skips that. List any breaking changes, we don't have any of these, so we can press enter again and it skips that. And as you'll see on the left side there, that has all been committed, and we can check this by just hitting git status. It's going to tell us now that your branch is ahead by origin master by 1 commit. And so, of course, we just need to push to publish these commits, which we can now do. But it's just that simple. It's that straightforward. And this is why I really like conventional commits. It's just very, very kind of straightforward. I don't know what's that? Git. Okay, git push. So now we can push these changes up. There we go. That's kind of all done. And now I'm going to quickly just drag over the repo file, if I might find it myself. So as we can see now, and so as you can see, this is cool, right? We've got chore here. We've got that plus, that nice emoji. I'm such a child. And then we've got that message there, add main dependencies, very clear. And yeah, it's you know, very clear for us. We need to get on that README at some point as well. So production pending. So if we actually look here, we can actually see, so this is very helpful as well. So we're also getting this kind of live feedback on the state of the deployment. So, you know, we're pending right now. So, okay, here we go. Running yarn, so we're doing next build. There we go, done in 7.46 seconds. So now you can see we're in building and now we're ready. So if we close that down and if we go back on here and if we refresh this, I believe we should see active. And there we go. And so this is what's really nice about about Next.js, about Vercel, is that you can, you know, see this environment. You can sort of see what the status of the deployment is. You know, you can see you've got a button that takes you to that deployment once it is deployed, which is nice. And so yeah, that's us kind of set up in terms of repo and everything. Sorry, I'm hitting my mic a lot. Right, so yeah, that's just how to use conventional commits in a project. That's how I like to use it. It's just very straightforward for me. Like I said, it gets me thinking properly about what it is I'm doing, just for more clearer, more concise commit messages. And now we can look at setting up our Chakra theme. And yeah, let's kind of get working with Chakra, which is probably one of my favorite parts of this. So what I am going to do is, if you can just bear with me. What I'm going to do, I've got another project I'm just referring to, by the way. It can be much more helpful for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create in here. So we've got the index.js created. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to write an import statement. So we're importing from Chakra UI. And what we're going to import is the extend theme. And so what extend theme does is it essentially allows us to take the initial sort of design tokens, global styles. It allows us to take those default Chakra ones and we can either modify them, we can include them and add our own, which is what we're going to be doing, so that we still can use Chakras, you know, if and where we need to. But then we now have our own sort of custom colors, which is, I think it's just really cool. So let's do that. And so there's a couple of things that I wanted to kind of do by default. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do styles. So this essentially is just us setting up some global styles. So we can do global, and essentially we're going to look at taking some props. It's a function, and so I'm just kind of copying this from another page, by the way. I'm not just like doing this from memory. Let me just copy the rest of it over. But okay, we're gonna have this. So essentially, oh, forgot that. No, I think we're right with that. Are we? Yeah, we're good with that. So here you can see, so props.color mode. And so this is just like a default Chakra property, which obviously detects whether we're in light or dark mode essentially, and so it's just showing, it's telling us what to show on which mode essentially. That should be the other way around, because color is usually referring to text color. So This isn't going to stay like this, by the way, because I'm not using black and white. I'm using like an off-white and like a coal black. So this will change, but I'm just putting this in here for now, just as it's kind of helpful to us. And so we can add that there, and now we can do colors. So what we can do is we can say ... I believe it's theme dot colors. Or have I got that wrong? I've got that wrong. Use for decorate. Oh no, it's not theme dot colors, is it? Sorry, that's my bad. Of course it's not. I'm just going to again jump in between files on this other screen of mine. Ah, I've just remembered. So we don't actually need to do this anymore. So before, I keep forgetting because this is something that we used to have to do in a previous Chakra version, is where we'd have to actually use rest spread to essentially bring in those other Chakra colors, but we don't have to do that now. This happens by default. So what we can do now is we can actually work with our design file, which is really nice. What I'm going to look at in another video as well, I don't think we'll do it today, but it's potentially working with the Figma API to like programmatically, well, in a way, programmatically actually sort of define our colors and maybe potentially some other values and attributes as well. We can look at that. I was kind of looking at this on the Figma live stream that I was watching last night that I was telling you guys about earlier, where at some point Joey looked at using the Figma API to actually display those values, and I thought it would be a really nice way to have this consistent pipeline between your potentially evolving designs and your design tokens, so you don't have to keep going back, and once you've changed something in the design you have to then go back to development and be like, okay, I need to change this color to this new one. You just have that automatically update, which I think would be pretty cool, pretty insane. So we're going to look at that for sure, but right now I'm just kind of more sort of concerned on getting these things done. Another kind of note as well, that I suppose I'm not sure about this, and I'm feeling a bit sort of swayed towards doing things a different way with these colors, but like I mentioned, the easiest way would be to go into this. I've got this naming convention that I've decided, and it's inspired by Chakra, where we've got this number system, and this is the point I'm trying to make, is that I believe on this project we actually have Chakra in here. So if we go down, you can, oh no, we don't have it anymore. If I enable it though, I will just quickly do this. Oh no, I do have it enabled, okay. So I should be able to, I do have it enabled. So here, if you see, we go actually from 50 to 900. So we've essentially got what, like 10 different color styles. Here we've reduced it down to, I think 6 or 7. We've reduced it down to 7, and so basically, sorry, I keep right clicking things. So basically we've got a lot less colors, and I'm just trying to think of whether that was the best kind of way to go, because if we're going to be referencing some Chakra colors at some point, might not be the wisest idea to have a different naming convention, but I just didn't want to have to kind of list all these shades that I'm just probably would not ever use. So I'm not sure, like, I'm kind of doing some thinking around this, but for now I think we will just put what we've got in there. So as you can see, we've got these colors down here on the right side. I think if I click on here, that's going to go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split this off this way. Lovely. And now we can see both. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking the values in here and we're just assigning them down here. I'm going to go kind of just down in order. So let's do this. So we've got default. And so this is the way we're kind of doing it. So with colors, we don't have to reference color when we're working with our styles. It actually starts with whatever's under colors. So default is what we will now reference as that first object, essentially. And so now inside this object, so we can look at these folders as being their objects, and then these are the values and the names. So sorry, okay, let's kind of map this out properly. So this default, we can look at this default as being an object. In Figma, obviously, it looks more like a folder kind of thing where it's got two things inside it. But we can say this is an object with two values essentially. And of course, if we're talking in JavaScript terms, then we're talking about key value pairs. And where that comes in is that this FC is the value and light is the key, right? So default is the object, light is the key, the color is the value, dark is the key, and 232323 is the value. Well, hash 232323, of course. The hex code is a value, essentially. And so we're following this same kind of pattern here. So default is the folder or object, okay, and then light is the key, and not 23, FC is the value there, and then dark, right, is the key, and 232323 is the value. And like, it's literally just as kind of simple as that. So once we've done that, we can now go down into our next. So let's tackle the next one. And so we've got primary colors now. So primary, cool. And then we just do the same thing essentially. So I'm gonna go from low to high. So we can obviously use numbers here. So 100. And then what's really nice is that we can just do this, copy and paste. We can just kind of do this the whole way down. Okay. And yeah, this is kind of just so I was mentioning the potential to use the Figma API. I didn't really have enough time to look into it between last night and today just because of work. So I didn't really want to kind of delve into it if there was a potential for it to take like quite a long time, because, you know, there's always sort of certain things, certain parts of working with APIs where you need to understand the functionality and how we're essentially calling the data we want to. And, you know, I think it's just kind of, as I want to get on with things, it was just kind of a safer bet to not sort of deal with that fresh today. But I'm definitely open to looking into that quite soon. So, you know, we'll see how we get on today. I should also just mention now, my aim is to get somewhere around like an hour and a half maximum in terms of the stream. I don't want to go on for too long. It would be good though to kind of make some good progress and try and get everything ticked off. So I still want to try and get storybook stuff done. So at the moment we're like on 40 minutes, and by the hour it would be nice to get the Chakra UI stuff kind of coming to a close. So that's the primaries, and then secondaries. I haven't actually decided on the tertiary yet on whether it's going to be necessary to use those. So for the sake of speed, I might just skip that for now, of course. Oh, my bad. What am I doing? I didn't mean to do that. Secondary. And so yeah, secondary, we can do the same thing. So 100. Wow, I'm yawning. Excuse me. It's also really hot in my room where I am right now. It's boiling. And I don't know why either, but it just is. Right. $500. Gotta make sure I'm watching the chat just in case somebody like pops up. Let me just quickly check that the chat is like working okay and everything. Last thing you want is to find out that actually like things aren't working the way we hoped. I'm also just gonna quickly check my Twitch. So apologies if quality drops right now. Do bear with me if it does. Oh, cool. Okay. So just cool. Okay. So, excuse me. So let's carry on with this. So this is just kind of like, you know, standard maintenance stuff. And so even now, I'm already thinking about like what the next commit would be once it's all set up, and you know, I'm thinking about styles and sort of having that as a commit, and sort of doing that once this is all set up, to keep within the sort of atomic commit habit. I'm working incrementally. Okay, so that's that all set. And like I said, we're just going to leave the tertiary for now, just because I'm not even entirely sure what's going to be happening. By the way, so as this, like I said, this is going to grow out. So this is not going to be something that we just do today and that's it. I just want to kind of get started on things, and it would be good to have these colors in here for what we're going to be sort of doing as we get into Storybook, etc. And right now we only need these main sort of primary, secondary colors, and obviously our default colors, maybe some neutrals at most. But in terms of actually growing this out, like I'm intending to, of course, include the accents and sort of those different shades, and also include things like brand colors for, let's say, social media icons, and stuff like that, really. So yeah, this is definitely sort of due to grow as a theme, but for now we will just sort of get by with what we need, and I'm just gonna kind of do what I always do and just kind of try and make life a little bit easy for myself, just not to reinvent the wheel every time. So what we can do here is just select this little bit here. Right. Right. Cool. So that's what that's set up, and that's all good, right? So yeah, that's cool. Cool. We can essentially reference these, but for now we're just gonna, so we're gonna just use light and dark. I think for me it just makes more sense. Don't know, who knows, this might end up changing for whatever reason, but for now, like, I'm just going to use what I've used in previous projects. I'm comfortable with this, so we'll be going with that, really. Okay, so I think, in terms of colors, that's all we need. Okay, now we need to also do fonts. Like I said, we're going to be setting up fonts as well. So I'm going to try and get all this kind of done as quick as I can. So as far as fonts go, let's look at again some help from project. So I think that's all the fonts, or colors even, sorry. So colors are now the fonts, which is our next one. So essentially what I need to do is, let me actually go onto the Chakra site so we can run through this together. This will be more helpful for people. So we can look at working with fonts, because there's a few things we have to do specifically for Next.js. Oh, I just saw that for Next.js. Oh, no, it's color mode. Using fonts. Oh, I don't know if this is new. Okay, font source is an update in monorepo. So okay. I feel like this is like new for sure. I don't think I've seen this before in the docs. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. So essentially what we've got, npm install font source, assign these fonts to theme.fonts. Cool. So then import the relevant font weights. Oh, that's an interesting way of working with things. Let me just say font next, or let's just have a look in general. Next.js, Chakra UI Next.js. Let's have a look. Yes, we also need to get some provider set up as well. That's a very standard thing. But we'll do that when we come to importing the theme. It would just make sense because we'll be doing sort of killing two birds with one stone. Yeah, to think about that saying, then I really am tired. Hence why I'm also trying to keep it to an hour and a half, because I'm out of it, man. But I did want to get this stream up. I meant to do it yesterday, but I was just out of it yesterday. But I was like, no, tonight I'm going to get this stream done. We also can look at this in dark mode, which is lovely, and we're going to look at enabling night mode, dark mode, whatever, quite soon as well, which will be fun. So I'm just trying to actually find. I believe it's under resources. I'm just trying to find or guides. I'm trying to find how to work with fonts, using fonts. So that's not the guide I'm looking for. We can actually just search this Chakra UI fonts, Next.js, and I didn't see Next.js. I didn't see Next.js anywhere. Let's. Okay. For create React app, you need to set this up. Yeah, this is definitely a different way to work with these. So this is the way I kind of worked with it the last time I did it in Next.js, was actually adding them to the public folder and then essentially configuring things in a separate like font face file. And we kind of did it like that. But I'm interested in font source, so let's have a real quick look at this. Ah, font source directory. This is cool. Okay, let's have a look at, so we can search. Let's have a look for Sora. Some water. Oh, did we search? Oh, it comes down the side. Sora, Google. So here we go. So that's cool. Cool. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, let's test it out then. Yeah, I'm open to trying something new for sure. And what better project to do it than this one, where we're going to be doing a lot of like experimenting. Of course, a lot of sort of proven techniques and whatnot, but more than open to experiment with stuff. So let's do that. So let's have a look back at here. So yarn add at font source Sora. So let's do that. Yarn add at font source /Sora. So let's install that. Okay. Lovely. Okay, so let's have another look. Okay, so it assumes yep, solutions like upper examples that are compatible. That's fine. So then within your app entry file site component, import it in. For example, you could choose import it. Okay. Let's have a look at how we're doing this with Chakra. Cool. It's very interesting actually to work with. What I'm just kind of interested in is how. Let's have a look at we'll have a look at if we can set up the weights specifically, because at the moment it looks like, say if you were having two different fonts, you could obviously do that quite clearly, but if you have the same font, I'm not sure if there's a way in which we can we can sort of decide, is the heading or the body going to get this font weight? Because obviously that's very important with visual hierarchy, to make sure that the headings are a lot more visibly bolder looking. The size of it isn't the only kind of indication that we'll kind of use to emphasize the visual hierarchy. So it'd be interesting to test this out now. So what's the docs say? The docs kind of I've got got 2 files now. So we can add the fonts to, okay, so we can add Sora to these fonts now. So let's do that quickly, and then we can come back to the docs and look at what to do next. So I think it's heading Sora. I'm gonna guess we need to do that. We may just end up going the other way. I just want to see what fontsource is like. I would like to, I'm kind of interested to see how we can get things working here. Anyway, let's export the default theme. So we still haven't done that yet. Default theme. And so we can now kind of reference this. So let's save that up and come back into here. Let's have a look, a little look around. Defaults to 400. So yeah, okay, cool. It's interesting. So I'm just thinking here. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so well, you know what, let's try and do something here. So we've got these 4. What I'm going to actually do, okay, is try and refactor this. So this is going to be like a nice little test. I know we've gone kind of over time now. We're on an hour, and I want to try and spend the last 30 minutes looking at Storybook, but you know, I kind of want to push this a bit more. We can maybe look at fonts next time properly, but let's just give this a shot, and then we can maybe look at doing it the way that I'm more familiar with. But yeah, let's try this out first, because this font source does seem like an interesting and potentially a more performant way working with fonts. I don't know yet. So we've got that set up. You know, it's the things installed. We've got Sora here that we're referencing. So we go to our, I believe it's app.js. So what we can do first of all is to import that theme. So I want to essentially go all the way down to styles, into our theme, and yeah, okay. So just from theme. What we want to, so we're going to say custom theme. So remember, we did default export, so name isn't particularly important here. It wasn't a named export, so we don't have to have the brackets around it. I believe it is here, right? This is kind of the bit where we just have to be kind of sure of some things. Oh, I'm making a mess across my files. Yeah. I'm going to quickly do. So we're going to need a bit more of a extensive return here. And let's get Chakra. So I'm just going to start doing things this way. So it would just bring it in for us. So all you need to do is just start typing out the thing, and then the auto layout would do its thing as well. So we've got the Chakra provider surrounding our app component, and now we can reference, so we can say theme equals our custom theme, and all that will go away, and now we good. Okay, so let's just save that. So no changes for now. What I'm gonna do is just now, so look, there you go. We can see a very visible change in our font. what I can do as well, if I wanted to, is just to go over to Google. So this is just like a real quick thing to check, because we don't know if it's fallen back to like a secondary thing. So we can just quickly just come and type some stuff. So like we can just say, this is what I'll do sometimes. Oh. To Next.js. So as you can see here, it's definitely not the same. I didn't think it was, but yeah, it's definitely not the same font. So this, if we also, and this is the other way of doing things. Oh. So the other way of doing things is to come into the dev tools and inspect. So it's telling us it's Sora, but I just ain't convinced. Okay, well, let's see what this is then. Maybe, I mean, I don't believe it is. This looks like Sora. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not a Sora font that I know anyway. So let's try actually, bear with me. Going to try. Well, actually, I suppose we can do this and do that. May need double quotes. I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know if it'll make much difference, but let's save it. No, so it didn't make any difference. But let's continue following the guide that we got to essentially just bring in this. Cool. So yeah, because maybe potentially this is what we need to do. So let's go now into, so we've got that all kind of brought in now. So let's go into this index.js and what we want to do. So what was it? Import. I'm so tired that I have to just keep constantly going back and forth. So I apologize. Really do. Fonts. Okay. So fontsource / Sora / let's say let's do 700.css. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Import at fontsource / Sora / 700.css. Ah, there we go. So that's just very quick. It's very helpful. But as you can see, we actually have like either or. But what I might do, let's see if we can bring one off the other. Okay. So no, this seems to all be taking our regular weight. Yeah, it seems to kind of be taking whatever the first weight is, and this is what I was kind of. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so now it's taking like the one that's lower, which is interesting. But it's quite, yeah, that's surprisingly quick. So that's cool. What we can do, which would be interesting, is to sort of use. So the way I'm thinking about maybe composing this from this standpoint is essentially rather than to, because what we could do is we could, yes, let's say if it did work, we could have these, 2 in every file, and wherever the heading and the text is. I suppose actually, so we haven't refactored this yet. Sorry, this is my bad. Okay, let's just keep it to this. Sorry, I said we were going to refactor this, right? So let's refactor this using Chakra, and we will have a look at how we're doing this. So, okay, wow. Cool. So, okay. So main. Cool. So what we're going to actually do. Oh, not you. You and you at the bottom. I'm going to cross that out. I'm going to bring in a box. Is it not going to ask us? Well, it's disappointing. Yes, it does ask us. Box, yes. So this is going to import the box, as you can see from Chakra UI, as a layout component. I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes it does it as a layout. Sometimes it does it as React. I don't know, maybe it's not. I'm just going to leave it as, I don't know, maybe they've changed things. I don't know. I'm going to guess they have. Okay, so we can now start to, oops. All this is fine, the head, that's fine. So here we don't need main either. I keep highlighting things when I can just kind of go to the next one. Oh, so here, what we can do, which is cool, is have box. And we can have this as prop, as main. So, okay. So this is not like raw main. This is like, this is main. So yeah, box as main. We can get rid of these styles. Actually, I'm going to keep the styles for a moment, and I'm going to tell you why, because it's going to help us. So H1, instead of H1, we're going to have a heading. And instead of A, actually, let's keep the A tag in there for now. Instead of P here, we're going to have text. Right. Nice. Right, so box, another box. H3. I mean, we're just going to see how we get on. Don't know if it's going to turn out well. Heading again. Right, let's just deal with this like the top part of things. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into our CSS. So you can see we've got home.module.css. We've got styles .container. So it's kind of cool how I'm going to bring this out a bit more. So I can just split these up quickly. So we've got our container styles. So what's cool now is that we can get rid of this container styles. And okay, so what we can do is this. We can just, well, actually, let me just show you how we can write these things differently. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just compose it this way. It's a bit easier. I'm going to say min h. So this is just like little abbreviations. 100 view height. So we still have to put this in brackets here. So we can say p instead of padding. This is just some quick kind of shorthands. And it's things that we can understand. So so we can say 0. We can just stick with that. 0, 0.5 rem. So now we realize it's actually flex. So here's what's cool. Instead of box now, we realize we don't have to use a box anymore. What we actually can use is this. We can use flex. And if I scroll back up here, it's gonna, oh, I used flex in the wrong kind of place. No, I didn't actually highlight this. So if you use flex now, it's gonna give us the auto thingy, hopefully. It's not gonna ask us, no. Okay, not to worry. But if I do this, it will. So now that's gonna add flex for us. And so now we don't have to do display flex, but we do have to do, so it always assumes a row for direction. We can use dir as a shorthand, but there's some shorthands that I find it maybe is a bit easier just to use the full thing. Direction's one of them. I just find it when I'm glancing across things just to see direction, there's a bit easier. Just add column. So we can also justify center, and we can align items to center as well. So align, again, another shorthand just for align items. Nothing crazy about that. So we can look at styles.main, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of do this whole beginning bit. Everything else I think could probably stay the same, and we can mix these. This is the cool things that you can mix it up with like standard CSS. So we're going to kind of see how it works. So we've got box as main here. So again, we've got another flex box. So actually, you can see where that box ends. We actually can just use, oh, I keep pressing the wrong damn thing. We can just use another flex there. Have I done it again with the main? Yeah, it's happened again. It's fine. That should resolve things. It does. And okay, so flex as main, that's absolutely fine as well. So we can get rid of u, and what we can do is come here. We can say p again. You know, you can say 5rem 0. You know, this is all fine. Then we can say flex equals 1. So direction as column, and we can justify our content. So justify again as a shorthand. I didn't mention that before, but yeah, it's just the same as this actually. Okay, and that's cool for that. So titles, we've got color. Okay, so what we can do with this next one, the heading. So as we can see, we're down here at title, and you can see now we've got some more interesting stuff actually. We have got some cool hover states and stuff like that. So let's see what we can do with this. If I have to be completely honest, I'm not sure where the color's coming from, because I know we got a color on, on the A. Okay, yes. Okay, that makes sense. So heading. Okay, so what we can do again, do this, and so obviously things are a bit different here. We split this up in a kind of different way. So we just look at the title itself. Right, that's what we're concerned with. We're concerned with the heading itself, so we don't need to worry about these for now. So what we actually do here, M, again, shorthand for margin, 0. Line height, I don't know if, okay, so line height's just that. Yeah, that makes sense. We see 1.15. And let me just make sure. That, you know, yeah, I think we can maybe use stuff like this, but really, like, this is the same as having this, and that might kind of confuse people and throw you off at first. I think it threw me off a bit at first, like, so font size. I'm not sure what 4M is in the sizing, because they have their own sizing, which I'm going to be using as well, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, you've got a bunch of things here. So welcome to, and then we have this aref. So essentially what we want to do here is to like style. I'm trying to think, because we can use next link. I'm just going to use their own link component. Oh. So I'm going to use our own link. I didn't do it here as well, so let's do that. And you'll see how this comes together, I promise. What's nice about this, again, we can just so what we do is that we deal with things separately. So instead of title A, so this is just A now. So this title A, we're just concerned about the link. So I can say color, and then this is using Chakra's own design tokens. So automatically you can see that they all come up in this list for us here now. And I'm gonna just go with something like 400 or 500 would do. And we can change the text decoration. So text decor is the shorthand for that. We can just say none. And let's have a look at what else. So now this is what I quite like about it. We don't need to separate our, I mean, sometimes for some people actually, and the way they work with CSS in terms of, you know, separation of concern, it might be a bit easier for people to work with what we have on the right here, where you kind of separate out hover states, focus, and active, you know, into its kind of own little class in a way. But what I like here is that you can kind of bake it into that component. Like this component is concerned with all of its different states essentially. So we don't have hover somewhere else, and these are accessed through these like underscore sort of prefixes. So if we want hover, we underscore hover. So if we want focus, you underscore focus. Same thing with active, and any kind of sort of state, that CSS state that we have. Sorry, my bad. Hover. So essentially, what we do here is we don't do this though. That doesn't work. What we actually do, so this we have to essentially have an object in here, and then this object takes in values. And so this is more true to CSS. We actually use colons here. So on hover, we want text decoration to be underlined. So let's say text decor, and then we use that, and then we say the value, so underline, and it works kind of like that. And what we can do, which is nice, can use it for focus as well, use it for active as well, and that's just the exact same. This is the exact same as what we have going on here. That and that is the same. It's up to you whichever one. Obviously, it depends on the person. I think whatever you find comfortable, but yeah, I think it's cool. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of get done here, and once all this is okay, we're going to kind of commit that, and then we'll have a quick look at setting up Storybook to work with Chakra. Maybe write a first story. We'll probably go over the hour and a half by a little bit, but that should be fine, to be honest. So yeah, that works out well. Got the link color, that's all kind of set. So I put this in the wrong place, by the way. That's actually supposed to be on our link color, so apologies there. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look, make sure that for everything that we need to. Yeah, so title, description, so text align, center, so that's just kind of grouping them. So again, we're gonna have to actually do this ourselves. Everything is concerned with its own thing. So if you see styles like this, we need to have this on both of these, essentially. So yeah, text align, and then center. Cool. And let's see. I haven't saved anything yet. So let's have a look at the description. Is this description? Yeah, let's have a look at the description. Okay, so we can actually just do it for this last one, and then for the rest of them, we can sort of, we can leave it there, and maybe I can show you how to create those next time. But I think This should hopefully be enough to give you a sense of how we can work with Chakra and the differences between writing traditional CSS and using CSS modules as opposed to Chakra. So text. So here, we've got line height of 1.5. We've got font size of 1.5 rem. And that's kind of it for that. So, okay, so we've got code. We can keep that code there. We can kind of keep the rest the same. I'm gonna leave the rest as the same. So hopefully we're not gonna get any errors, reference errors anyway. I think we've imported everything we need. So let's go ahead and save that up. Okay. Okay. So it's close to what we were seeing. Obviously this text is a lot closer. Let's have a look. So this is what I like to do. This is what I really like to do actually, is to so we can use BG as well. This is one of my favorites. It's probably one of my most common ones. I use BG and I just put the little background just to see. Okay, so that's what we've got there. I'm going to now take this and chop that and add this somewhere else and see. Okay, so welcome to Next.js. So what's nice, what we can do is let's try and see if we can maybe add some space in here as well. Got some space there? I think, yeah, we definitely added some space there. Yeah, so we can just do that, and that's fine for us. Might just make this blue a little bit darker. I quite like the blue; it's more subtle. That's kind of close. I don't know what happened here. With this oh, okay. So essentially, yeah, no, that's right. But actually, to be honest, yeah, that H3 wouldn't be that size. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to and what we'll look at next time is actually setting up our design tokens. So of course, we've sort of started to set them up with the theme, but actually, so down the right side here, you can see we've got the colors, but it actually goes, and I haven't done for every single one because I always forget Figma doesn't add the hash. And what I can do, sorry, let me show you a nice trick. VS Code trick for anyone that doesn't know. I'm going to assume that quite a lot of people do, but I can't just always assume anyway. So Control Alt, and if you press the down arrow, it's gonna just give you quite a few multi-cursors there, and I can just add in that hash, and then we have all the colors, which is really nice. And we can just do that with all of these. We get all of our greens, and then let's get the neutrals. And we get all of the neutrals. Okay. So that's just a nice little quick tip. And let's get rid of all of this side of things. And yeah, I can get back to what I was just mentioning, which was next time we will look at, so just there I showed you the colors. What we will actually look at is how we can essentially take these text styles that we have here. So as you can see, I've got desktop, I've got some global ones, and I've got mobile specific headings, which are all kind of displayed here. If we go and look at, so remember this kind of name, whatever name we have for these, this is just what it's pointing to. So we have like the key, and then obviously what's in here, all this data, you know, Sora, whether it's bold, the size, you know, line height, this is all our values essentially. So we'll need to look at a way that we can set these up with Chakra. We can use Chakra to help us to set up our own type scale essentially, and how, yeah, we can then use obviously this font source library to also like once we separate that sort of logic, we can then import the bold CSS weights for the Sora into the files that we need it to, and we can implement the normal ones into what we need it to be. It might not make much sense now. I know what it looks like in my head, but it's kind of hard to demonstrate without showing you guys. But like I said, we're kind of running short on time. So that's just a quick demo. So that looks, yeah, it's kind of fairly similar, but and we've obviously got that big documentation. That's funny, but we're going to get rid of all that code anyway. Obviously next time we'll be actually working on our homepage. So we'll be setting up the homepage, and by the end of the session, the aim is to have just a basic like layout. It doesn't have to be kind of the full design. I've actually been working on the design anyway, and I will continue to work on it, which exists in our mockup over here. So this is kind of what we've got right now, and I'm going to try and add to this between now and the next stream, which I'm not sure when it is. I can't say whether I'll be here tomorrow. If not, potentially Friday. I'm going to see how I get on at work. I'm kind of knackered today, and I'm just kind of wondering if I should have sort of maybe left it for another day. But we did it anyway, and I'm kind of glad that I kind of managed to get on and do it despite my tiredness. But I do apologize for kind of not being totally with it. But yeah, we'll be looking at actually sort of taking things from design to code in the next video, of course. We'll be looking more at Storybook. We're going to take a look now though, so we can leave the development server running. That's fine, but let's have a look at our Storybook, and I'm not sure if we'll get into writing that first story, but we can have a look at what's already there. I know we did have a brief look last time, so we've obviously got this stories folder that has all the stories in it. And there was one thing I was just going to do, which I've, completely forgotten now. So I'm just trying to think. Let's have a look at our changes. So yeah, it's always nice to kind of come back and frequently look at our what files we've got, what changes we've made. So, well, let's push these changes. So what we can do here, so we add those with that plus. So now they're staged. We can see they're staged. Now they're ready for us to commit. So we can hit our conventional commits, Control Shift P. It's going to ask us what this is. Now I'm going to say that this is it more? Well, I mean, if we're looking at holistically, because if we're looking at just the installs, of course, that would be more of a chore. But we did make some style changes. So essentially, I'm gonna just kind of put this down to generally being like a style thing. I don't know if in the wider context that's correct, but for me, like this, it kind of it's meaningful to me if I was to come back and look at it. Oh, I keep hitting this thing with these hand gestures. So I can just type in style here and look at that. Add or update UI and style file. So that's what I've done. And so we can write a short imperative tense description of the change. So here I'm just going to say setup Chakra UI custom theme and fonts. So that'll do. So what we can now give a bit of a longer description, just so I know what I've done, because in this obviously in the index.js we've added I've just demonstrated what the Chakra thing looks like, and I might be confused as to what I did that maybe in the future. So it might just be helpful just to add a little bit of context to say we don't have to go, we went into enough depth in the shorter one, so I can just say set up Chakra UI theme and test let's say, and refactor CSS. Yeah, refactor CSS to Chakra. Placeholder page CSS to Chakra. I would understand that. And no breaking changes, and so that's committed now, so that's all kind of taken care of, all good. So we can kind of get rid of this anyway. When we come back to the index.js file, we're going to be getting rid of that anyway, and we're going to be setting up our kind of paging system and all of that good stuff. So we've got the theme in there, that's all set up, and now we can take a look at Storybook. So I'm going to run yarn Storybook. We're going to have to give it a minute to spin itself up. This is what I meant to do, and it's silly of me that I actually spun it up before doing this, but what we can do, so you can see this .storybook file. What we want to do, we want to change some stuff in here so that it can work with Chakra. So firstly, there's a couple of things that need to be changed in this main file, I believe, anyway. So I'm just going to kind of I'm going to copy and paste some things. I'm going to copy and paste like this entire thing, and I don't know if I can I'm not sure if I can describe to you what exactly things are doing, but what I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to, just to be not silly, I'm going to, oh, is it stuck on something? Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely not helping things here. So let's see. Let's try and refresh this. Let's just make sure that this is still up. Okay, so we're just restarting some stuff here. Was that a wise idea to restart that? Because I don't know what it's done. Has it killed my... Yes. I hope it has. Yes, it has, thank God. Okay, that was silly. I messed with some... Yeah, don't do that. Don't mess with config stuff whilst you're spinning up something at the same time. It's not going to end well, and it didn't there. So, yeah, that's just a note to self. So, basically, what we're doing here, like, I think all this path and to path stuff is... so yeah, essentially we're just joining some paths with this thing here, and that's just to do with all of this later down here, where essentially we are it's just some config stuff to allow this to use emotion core, which is obviously what Chakra relies on, which is built on top of so I think it's just to allow it to I think we fundamentally need it for the styling to work. So let's look at the preview.js. So what we need now is we need to install the theme and Chakra provider. So I'm going to quickly just take this from my other project. So that's always going to stay the same, but we need to import. Let's import //styles/theme. So we need to import our custom theme. Oops. I always forget this. It's not. We could be explicit and call it, like, we could give it a named export. I'm just gonna not do that for now anyway. So we're obviously exporting parameters. We need to actually export the decorators, like I mentioned before. Export const decorators. It's an array. Takes in a story. Oh. Okay, so Chakra provider and story. So what this is doing is that this is wrapping every story. So story is essentially like it's like a piece of UI in our application that we are like visually, well, that we're basically building in isolation. So we can even just look for we can just look at the docs here. Like one of the first things is like, what's the story somewhere? Let's just open that up. What's the story, right? And it will tell you a story captures the render state of a UI component. That's like it in a nutshell. Okay, so every story, so like whether it's a button or an input, like whatever it is, like it can be from a button all the way up to like a nav bar to a full page. It will be rendered inside the Chakra provider, and once we give it the theme, so theme equals custom theme, now we actually have some use for it. We can actually see those colors come up. Otherwise it just doesn't work, and I've had projects where it doesn't work because I didn't know this, and then I finally, after quite a long search, found the answer in a GitHub issue, which is where I seem to be finding a lot of answers for things nowadays, so that's nice. So yes, I believe now that's working. So let's hope that's working, eh? Oops. Oh, okay. So that's Yarn Storybook, that. Oh, I like this one. Okay, welcome to Storybook. Thank you. So what we can do, I'm just gonna pop that like over there somewhere. Okay, so let's have a look. So I'm just gonna just take this placeholder stuff. I don't actually no, let's do this in, I'm just gonna do this in the stories folder because it's gonna be easier. So let's firstly take a look at what we already have here. And so we've got primary, we've got secondary, we've got large, we've got small. It's cool. So true, false, that's nice. We can go here, true, false. Change the background color, which is super handy. It's quite interesting actually. I'm just kind of observing this file because I'm seeing prop types being used, and yeah, there may be some actual some potential use for us actually to use prop types here as well. So yeah, I've got some CSS we're bringing in. We're programmatically choosing the class name based on some stuff. It's cool. Yeah, and it's got these like kind of prompts. So is this the principal call to action? So primary prop types bool. So it's either like this has to be true or false. You know, is it a call to action? All right, cool. then it's a primary. Like otherwise, it's a secondary button. What background color to use? Prop size.string. So this has to, you know, be a hex or RGB or H. What's the other one? HSL value. And then this one of, I'm guessing, yeah, it's like it has to be either one of these three. And if we go into the button stories, you can see how, yeah, we might display these things. So it's really interesting, actually. It's very cool, and we'll get more into it for sure. But I'm just trying to see if it may potentially be better to maybe do this next time. But let's have a look. What's the story? So I'm going to look at an old project, actually. And maybe it's actually my last portfolio, funnily enough. And I think I had like some kind of styled button thing going on where okay. Right. Yeah, it's kind of getting late. You know, I'm gonna round off on this, I think, and I think Storybook. We're looking at. I think it'd be better to allow ourselves to have a bit more of an in-depth look at Storybook together when we next do this, because yeah, right now I'm knackered, and we've been through Chakra. We've seen how to set things up with the Next.js project, which was great. Everything's working all good, and like I said, we're going to keep on adding to our theme. We're going to keep on extending that as our as we extend, sort of anything in the style guide that we need to. Mainly in terms of like color. Spacing, I'm happy, like I said, I'm happy to use chakras, and we'll look at, we can actually maybe spend a little bit of time looking at their docs. I've got probably tabs all over the place by this point, so that's not good, but it's okay. I'll let myself off because like I said, I'm knackered. But we can look at that. We can look, they've got a lot of things here. We've got, stuff around the default theme. We can have a look at all of these different colors, all of these different design tokens. So you've got colors. We can have a look at font sizes. We can have a look at font weights, line heights, letter spacings, even in a bit more depth, and just figure out what we essentially need to use. So yeah, there's a lot of information here, which is very helpful for us as we're approaching this from the perspective of like integration with Chakra. So it's been great. I'm getting a call from my mum probably to say goodnight. So I want to say goodnight to you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you